Hey, welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR. I've got a lot to talk about going on in the Big Ten. Unfortunately, it's not the night of games that we may have wanted to potentially have going on to there was an upset, don't get me wrong, but it was not like a fun upset. It was like this is something prisoners watch upset.
Are you upset
Well,
about the upset?
I'm upset.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But I'm not going to come on here and tell everybody else they need to be upset because people like to watch Ohio State lose, and I get that.
And people like to watch Northwestern win.
That's true. That's true. Your boy Chris Collins got it done tonight. How's it feel?
It felt good because the season's over basically for Northwestern. Let's be real about it, but it's always nice to see the Pioneer get one done. And it's been really tough for me this season because I feel like some of the fan base is starting to turn on me because of the Good Morning posts with the
Mm.
Chris Collins edit. And I feel like I'm starting to take blame a little bit for some of these losses, which this is going to be hard for people to wrap their heads around, but I have no impact on the game whatsoever.
What are you talking about? You are the biggest Northwestern fan on Twitter. Like you play a major role in this. I'm not sure that doesn't compute, Kit.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't know. But yeah, it was nice to see them get a win though. I mean, depleted team. I will get into it, but anyways, yeah, it was nice to
Yeah.
see Chris Collins get one.
Yeah. Well, we do have the graphic as instant reaction to USC Maryland. So I feel like we should start there and then
Okay.
we'll get into Ohio State. Let's greet our two most loyal, I think, listeners that we have. John, hello gentlemen. Appreciate you being here, John. He says US hockey and Big Ten Huddle. I mean, could you get a better combination,
I think
right?
so.
Yeah.
I think you could actually. I'm not a big hockey fan, so I mean, I like watching hockey, especially playoff hockey, but correct me if I'm wrong about this. This is the most meaningless tournament of all time, right? Isn't it basically a glorified all-star game? Do you know anything about what's going on with this Four Nations thing? Because I
No.
just learned about it like the other night, and I was so confused about why it's important.
Well, all I knew was that apparently, what are they called? The Canadians like booed our national anthem or something like that, and I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that's personal. Like, yeah, beat down those dirty, Canadian maple liquors. Like destroy
Maple
them.
liquors.
I don't know. Whatever I could think of to insult them. But then I learned after it they were like, oh yeah, this was like an exhibition game, and I was like, you're
Yeah,
booing the anthem in an like that is so soft.
that's why I didn't understand why it was so important. But anyways, it's all, like anytime USA is playing anyone with USA across their chest, like you got to get hyped for it, especially against Canada. We can't have
That's true.
Zach Edey being happy tonight.
Uh, we cannot. Yeah, that's very true. And then I mean, have you seen the maps? Like nearly 50% of their population is basically in America. So like they're down there by Michigan and up by
Mhm.
Maine, and that's it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
they want to be us so bad. It's crazy.
they do. They do. Beat them down for us, John. We know you affect the U.S. hockey game just like Kent affects the Northwestern games. So beat them down. Beat them down. Philip, you got Martinelli. That's Martinelli and low effort Ellie as well. Bad playing Ellie as well. All of that was a part of it. Yes. Yeah.
There was a lot of
Uh,
guys in that game that stepped up, though. I know we're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to it.
yeah, we'll get to it. Captain Jinx, Mr. Casual. It is what it is. Well, here we go. Here we go. EA. He says great Terps win. He wants to
Let's
hear about the
go.
Terps. Let's talk about the Terps, Kent. Great win for the Terps. USC was battling in this game. Last 4 minutes, Terps really, kind of, run away with it. Overall, this was a game where I just felt like Maryland's guard play once again just takes over the game, and your starters scored 85 points. Your bench scores 3 points. Like this is Maryland basketball at this point. Kevin Willard was like, screw everything else. I'm just gonna get the best possible players to put in my starting lineup, and I'm gonna run them. I mean, the lowest minute total for a starter for Maryland was Rodney Rice, who had 33 minutes. Like
That's insane.
I love, like, I know we kind of dog on Maryland every now and then because like some inside jokes with like Kevin Willard and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, like I'm going to continue to make those. It's not because I hate Maryland, it's more just because it's like our inside joke stuff. But like Kevin Willard really has found something here where he's like, nobody get hurt, nobody get injured, nobody get sick, because if we lose anybody in this starting lineup, like that
Yeah.
that could be bad. But if we have everybody in our starting lineup, like, correct me if I'm wrong, this is a team that could go to the Elite Eight. Like, dare I say, a
Yeah.
Final Four team, right?
Absolutely. I mean, what I saw tonight, and you just touched on it for just a minute, but I want to dwell on it for a little bit longer. The guards from Maryland were so nasty tonight. Like Gillespie and
gosh.
Rice are just so important to their team. They combined for 42 points. So obviously from the offensive end, but USC has some really good scorers. Like Wesley Yates is no joke. Desmond Claude is no joke. And yeah, Wesley got his every now and then in this game. I mean, I think he had 21 in this game, and I still love watching the kid play. But the way that those two guards from Maryland were so disruptive on defense is what gives me a lot of confidence about Maryland going into this postseason. Like, they look like a top 10 team tonight. And then you add the fact that they have, basically, in my opinion, like one of the best centers in the conference. I just tried to go through all 18 teams. Like, there's some other good centers, but like Queen is so good, and Julian Reese has made such a big improvement this year. I'm used to talking in the morning, JR. This night stuff is not for me anymore. I don't think.
Dude, it's like 11 o'clock at night.
I know, this is crazy. But with those two bigs and with the guard play playing so well, it gives me a lot of confidence in the Crab Five going into the postseason for sure.
The Crab Five. Okay, is that what we're calling it?
Yeah, they just started that this week.
Oh, did they? Okay, I haven't seen it yet. I've been terrible on Twitter, dude. I have not been on Twitter nearly as much this past like 2 or 3 weeks. So I apologize. I haven't been posting as much on there. I'm trying to get back to it. But
and
yeah,
just so
the
you
Crab
know,
Five.
That's like a reference to I don't know if you picked up on this, but there used to be a Michigan team that they had the Fab Five.
Oh, here's the thing. I heard that was vacated, so I had to like FBI like my mind, because anything that's vacated, we just instantly forget. So actually, I don't know what you're talking about at all.
Fair. That makes sense. I think that's what they're referencing, and like the crabs with the Maryland thing. It kind of plays, it works, but yeah, I like it a lot.
I need him to like fully invest into it though. Like come up with like a dance or something that like,
yeah.
Do you think it like the Ohio State guy from last year, what's his name? Zed something. He would do the finger guns after he got like an and one. Like if Jacoby Gillespie goes up and gets an and one, I need them all to be like, crab five. I don't know.
Like stupid. They could lock arms, and like after they lock arms at the elbow, they just do like the crab. That'd be good.
You have to do it like this. That's like
what's puppets. Baby Shark?
Oh yeah, that's Baby Shark.
So it's like this? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like like this up and down. So anyway,
we'll get it. We'll work on
that. This is the analysis you came to the Big Ten Huddle for. So, no, but I mean, I think it is really interesting to think: can this Maryland team go into March Madness, the NCAA tournament, and make a deep run with basically only 5 players? I mean, you're still getting Jordan Geronimo giving you good defense, like he's athletic, but in this game, you had 14 minutes from your bench in this one, like. It's just kind of insane. You had one guy score 1 point and get 1 minute. That's a pretty good ratio, I think. If you get 1 point for every minute you're in there, maybe Kevin Willard needs to play him more. But yeah. I mean, overall, if Derek Queen can get into the NCAA tournament and continue to be who Derek Queen is, give this team the reliability that he's able to give them as a freshman, I really, really like this Maryland team. As long as they get the right matchups, going through the tournament, I really like this Maryland team. The only thing for me is Kevin Willard, right?
Yeah.
Can Kevin Willard be that coach to get a team to the Elite Eight? I don't know. We'll have to see if it happens.
Jordan is such an interesting person that you just brought up, by the way, because I loved him at Indiana. I thought he played so hard and just gave everything every time he was on the court. And I think he's super athletic too, and I think he can help a team out. But when you have somebody like that that's like barely getting double-digit minutes each game, in the Iowa game when I was watching earlier this week or whenever that game was, I can't remember now, Sunday, whatever it was, he actually played more than I'm used to seeing him play. And I was like, all right, finally, like Jordan's getting into the rotation. They're going to have a little bit more depth. And then like tonight, like you said, like didn't need him. When you have a guy that is that good, though, is what my point is, and you can't find minutes for him because the other guys are so much better, that's a good problem to have, I feel like, if you're, Coach Willard right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, like, how did this team go from like EA just brought it up here? It said Terps are tied with Kentucky for the most games with all five starters in double figures. With what is that? Five. I thought it said three for a second. I apologize. Five. You went from Jameer Young last year, who had like god level usage rate
Yeah.
numbers,
Yeah.
to now you are leading the nation with the most games with your starting five all scored in double figures. Like,
That's awesome. That's what you would
Kevin,
want to have, though, right?
yeah,
You would
for
much
sure.
rather have it this way, for sure. Even if the depth isn't like all the way there, you would much rather have all your guys be able to score and put up big numbers each night, and everybody's like kind of sharing the wealth.
Yeah. Jeff Parks brings it up here. He says Deshaun Harris Smith was a 5-star and he just hasn't learned how to score at the collegiate level. Yeah. I mean, but I also give Kevin Willard credit that he's not messing with him. Like, he's like, dude, we got stuff to win. Like, if you can't figure it out, sorry, we're moving on from you, which is hard to do with a 5-star on your roster, right? So, I mean, yes, I have given Kevin Willard plenty of plenty of criticism over the time we've had this podcast. But the way I look at things now, like, he's he's figuring out. He's got a good group set up. Let's look at USC now, Kent. So USC in this one, I thought they played really hard. I thought they were playing energetic. I mean, I thought they had really good ball movement at times. Unfortunately for them, like, they have set scores on this team, and then there's other guys that just don't really offer all that much. Wesley Yates, Desmond Cloud, St. Thomas, he offers a lot. Like, those guys are doing a lot, but then you just have other guys in this team that just can't really offer as much to you. 7 for 22 tonight from 3 isn't awful, but definitely going into Maryland, if they're going to shoot 8 for 20, nearly 50%, then you need to be better in that area. I mean, what's your thoughts on USC after this game?
Some really good players, obviously. I've said that USC has been my favorite team to follow this year just because it's basically been what this whole game was. It's been, oh my gosh, they're bad. And then they like kind of rev it up. They look like they're going to be a great team. That's how the whole season's been. And then they've kind of fallen back off. And it happened in both halves in this game. They were down huge at the beginning, battle back, cut it to 3, and then let Maryland go on a 7-0 run to end the first half, and they're down by double digits at halftime. Do the same thing in the second half, battle back, and then they end up losing by almost 20 or whatever it was. So it's a team full of really good players. To me, the biggest missing piece that they have, especially when you're going against Maryland, and Maryland's done this to a lot of teams this year, they don't have anybody that can stop the scoring inside. Like when Derek Queen gets it inside and you don't have somebody that's 6'10", 7 foot that can put a big body on him and push him away from the paint, you're in big trouble. And when Julian Reese is on the other side or on the other block getting rebounds, you're in even bigger trouble. And they don't have one guy that can guard either of those guys. So that's really where the deficiency in this game for USC was, I thought. But it's still a team that, like I said, really good players. I think that they're building up to something that they can be great next year. But they got to get some help down low for sure. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this has been the problem for teams when they don't have a down low presence. They go up against Maryland, to a certain extent Michigan, but Danny Wolf plays on the outside so much. We'll talk about them a little bit later in the show, them and their matchup against Michigan State coming up tomorrow. But you see enough of that to be like, listen, if you have a presence down low, you're going to be tested against Maryland. If you don't, you're going to find out real quick, because Maryland is going to be that team that's going to absolutely destroy you down there if you don't. And that's what happened to Ohio State the very first game. Now they figured it out in the second game because they just started throwing bodies in there, and they were like, stay fresh and just go be a body, and it worked for them. I do think that's probably a little bit of the Achilles heel here for Maryland, is if people just start throwing bodies at them and tire out Queen and Reese, and they're able to get really good guard play. And if Maryland's guards don't have a great day, that's kind of the Achilles heel there. But it has to work together for your team in order to beat them. And obviously, it's not worked the majority of the time, it's not working for your team like that because Maryland's beating a whole lot of teams right now.
Yeah. I saw multiple times during this game, and this kid's a really nice player. I don't know how to say his last name. I think it's Rashawn Ag. Really good player. Love watching him play. Plays with a lot of energy. He reminds me a lot of Tony Perkins, but he's 6'8". He can't guard Derek Queen. You kidding me? He was switched off to Julian Reese multiple times in this game. You're asking him to check him for 5, 6, 7 possessions in a row, and you still want something from him offensively? It's not going to happen. Like, he was getting worn out by those guys. So, like I said, just nobody, not a big enough body down low to stop what was happening. And then it's like basic basketball 101. Once you can't start guarding what's in the paint, it opens everything else back up. Driving lanes are opened up and wide open shots. And that's exactly what Maryland did today. And that's why, like EA said, everybody in the starting lineup was able to get in double digits.
Yeah, very true. Very true. And Jeff Parks, he's bringing the stats here too. He says back-to-back double-doubles for Queen and Reese. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to let that happen, you're not going to win too many times against Maryland. So major props to Maryland. I think the story coming out of this one, the takeaway is that, obviously USC, they're probably not going to be a tournament team. We'll see, but they have some really good talent on their team. So to be able to beat them by, 17 at home, pull away like that toward the end, just speaks to your team and speaks to the fact, even if you don't have a bench, you're still closing out games like that. It's really impressive. So
they look like a top 10 team tonight, man. They really did.
They did. All right, let's talk about Ohio State, Northwestern. I don't want to talk about it, but I feel like we need to. We can just kind of gloss over it. So, Kent, I want to start with this. So, we don't do politics here very often at the Big Ten Huddle. However, I feel like this is a time when you and I can really figure out some of the world's issues here, Kent.
Okay.
So the death penalty is a big thing for people, right?
Yeah.
I think instead of the death penalty, you just put this game on loop in front of the prisoners 18 hours a day.
I mean
they're going to be, enamored by Martinelli. So there's a little bit of grace in that.
Yeah.
And KJ Wyndham, how do you pronounce his name? They're going to be a little enamored with that, but I mean, they're going to see John Mobley and they're going to be like, yeesh. Yeah. Are you sure that is not a high schooler? Like, are you sure that?
Yeah. I think in order for it to be an actual punishment, you have to put whoever's in prison or whatever in an Ohio State jersey while they're watching it, and they have to cheer for Ohio State.
Yeah, they have to feel that would be the ultimate punishment. Like, you bring them into prison and you show them Ohio State football, and you're like, look, they just won the national championship.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, okay, yeah, I'm an Ohio State fan. They won the national championship. And then you're like,
gaslighting.
Yeah. And then they hired this coach who's never been a head coach before in his life, and he's been an assistant all of his life, and he had a few lucky games the season before.
Show him the Purdue games back to back. Check this out.
Yeah, check this dude out. Look how good he is. And then you just show him this game on loop. He's like, oh, okay, this game's over. I'll watch the next one. But it's like, no, this game's just on loop for the rest of your life. He'd be begging for the death penalty. He would be begging for the death penalty. I'll tell you.
And then also the punishment of not knowing what happened the rest of the season too. That would just be they got better, right? And you're like, maybe you will never know.
This is what you're watching.
Watch this again.
Can I watch the national championship again? No. This is what you get.
That's so good, man. I love that. I love that idea.
I was workshopping that one as I was out at the gas station, mad. I had the game on my phone, and the dude behind me in the gas station, he was like, "Wow, it sucked to be an Ohio State fan tonight." I was like, "Yeah, it does."
You're like, yeah.
Believe me, I know. All right, so we can actually talk about the game now. So Ohio State loses this one 70-49. Ohio State at home. This is a huge blow to Ohio State's NCAA tournament hopes. They, were kind of on the bubble, projected as a 10 seed by a lot of places, kind of depending on who you looked at. Some people felt better about Nebraska's chances. Some people felt better about Ohio State's chances. Well, yesterday Nebraska loses to Penn State. That was on the road, though. So that was not as bad. They did get blown out, but still, on the road, not as bad. This one's at home for Ohio State. This one is like the crowd was booing them because they were so mad. The players for Ohio State just looked completely dejected. And meanwhile, Matthew Nicholson just had his way down there. Martinelli was like doing crazy hook shot things that, basically did whatever he wanted to do. And I'm not taking anything away from Northwestern by saying this, but I mean, I think a high school girls team would have beat Ohio State tonight with the way they looked and the way they were playing.
Maybe.
So,
I mean, they couldn't score
yeah,
at all. I think it's the
they were
lowest
like
point
wide
total.
open and they still couldn't score.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe a little carryover from the air ball that Bruce threw up in the Michigan game. They just were like, oh man, if he can't make that, we can't make anything.
yeah. Yeah.
Tough.
I mean, so let's talk about Northwestern. Northwestern won. Let's talk about them first. So I
Okay.
think like this is a huge thing for Northwestern. They're trying to make the Big Ten tournament.
Yes.
This is a big win for them to do that. Iowa lost, was it last night, to Oregon, and so they're kind of right there. But Minnesota won their last game, so they're kind of pulling ahead. Right now, it seems like there's one spot. Washington lost last night to Rutgers, which, by the way, if you didn't catch that game last night, that was the most fun I've ever seen two of the worst teams in the Big Ten ever play, because both teams wanted it so much. But Northwestern's got a shot now, like with Washington losing, Penn State losing, Iowa losing. They've got a shot now, possibly to get into the tournament here, which I would not have deemed possible without Brooks Barnheiser. But give credit to this Northwestern team.
Yeah, it's still going to be tough. I'm going to go back one beat, though, because that Rutgers-Washington game, you're absolutely right. I watched the whole thing. Incredible game, overtime. I think the outcome could have been different if Great Osibor didn't foul out late in regulation. Like, they had a legit chance to win that game. They were right in there, but just couldn't finish the job. And obviously, without their best player, they're in big trouble. But kudos to Rutgers on that one. As far as Northwestern, though, here's how I look at this season right now, and then I'll talk about the Big Ten tournament thing. I think that in the long run, this is going to be helpful for Northwestern because they're getting guys that are super young right now, big minutes. They have to play big minutes. Leach is gone. Barnheiser's gone. Somebody has to play these minutes, so they're getting these young guys, Wyndham involved, some of the other guys that they have playing, and they're getting experience, and next year they're going to be even more ready. So I think it's a good thing if you're a Northwestern fan. Overall, it's a rough season. It's rough to have to go through this whole season like this. But if you can just take one step back, it will be like, okay, well, these guys got minutes last year. And I don't think that they're guys that are going to transfer. Usually Northwestern guys aren't like that to begin with. So it's going to be helpful for the program overall. As far as the Big Ten bubble, I talked about this on Monday. I still think it's Iowa. There's basically one spot, like you said. I think it's Penn State and Washington, but Iowa's just bad. Like no Owen Freeman, they're in deep doo-doo. I hate to say it. They didn't play horrible last night. I thought that they showed some good things, but Oregon hasn't been able to beat anybody either. So it's like the team that beat them on their home court was not very good to begin with. So that just shows me how bad I think Iowa is right now. And coming down the stretch, I just feel like Fran's checked out and some of the team is starting to be checked out as well. And they just don't have enough good players. So I think it's going to be Iowa, unfortunately, on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa had every chance to win that game. I mean, between the shot clock violation, which I thought probably should have been a made three, but whatever. Between that and Shellstad stepping on the line, like they basically gifted Iowa that opportunity twice because they missed the two layups and then the ball went out of bounds, and then they had the chance again and Nate Biddle blocks the three. Like they had the opportunities to do it and they couldn't close out the game, and it just felt like this was Iowa's season kind of in a nutshell. It's like, here are the opportunities, go out and get it, but you can't do it.
Biddle's nasty, by the way. I love that kid. He is
nasty.
Disgusting. Love watching him play.
I love that he's balding too.
Yeah, that's great.
I've discovered that in football, I want all of my offensive linemen to be balding. I've also discovered I want my 7-foot center to be balding as well. That feels like right.
Yeah, because it just like instills confidence in you. Like this guy's not going to make a bad decision. Like he's seen everything.
Yeah. He knows. But like Northwestern here, like they have a really good shot at making the tournament. We're talking about Iowa, but like they have at Minnesota next on Tuesday, so they have a good amount of rest for that, and then home against Iowa after that. I mean, if they lose at Minnesota, it is what it is. Like, I don't think that affects them too much because Minnesota's kind of pulling away at this point. But that Iowa game, it really is impactful because Iowa plays Northwestern and they also play Washington. So, I mean, are they going to be able to beat Washington and at Northwestern? Possibly, but that Washington team played really, really hard against Rutgers. You never know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't pull up the schedules until just now, so I don't know if Northwestern. Oh man, it's gonna be tough. At Minnesota, like Minnesota's playing pretty good right now. Like they're getting some very good basketball play out of those guys, which is
Yeah, but
shocking because
you'd rather play them than like, you know, Nebraska, right?
yeah,
Like,
oh yeah, for sure. I
I
would
mean,
much rather
Nebraska just
have that
lost by
game.
30, so I don't know. Maybe that's wrong, but
But when I'm looking at Northwestern, like at home against Iowa, and then even UCLA just lost to Minnesota, so it's like you could win those two games, maybe. I don't
yeah,
know. That was the worst loss, by the way. I know that was a couple of days ago, but UCLA cannot lose that game. And no, if that not taking anything away from Minnesota, they went and won that. But what a I was gonna say what a blown job, but they definitely blew that game for sure.
great wording there. Great wording.
Yeah, what
Philip
a
actually
blown
makes
job.
a really good point. Minnesota can only beat teams they shouldn't.
Yeah, that makes sense.
UCLA, Michigan. Who else did they beat? At USC, at Penn State. They have won, dude. They have won their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Their last 8 games, 4 of them that they've won have been on the road.
That's insane. The Road Warriors, man.
What does that say about Minnesota? That's kind of wild. Yeah, they won at Iowa. It started, and then they won at Penn State, at USC, at UCLA. Yeah, Minnesota and Michigan, the only 2 teams to go for a sweep on the LA stretch this season.
Pretty
Or the
impressive. By
LA
the way, Parker Fox's
run.
birthday is today. A lot of
Oh,
people won't like that because they'll just say he's getting even older, but like I don't see age. That's just ageism when you start bringing stuff like that in, you know?
yeah,
And I
yeah.
don't see that. I just see a college basketball player that's having a good time.
Just passionate, playing the game he loves. How
Yeah.
can you hate on it?
Well, happy birthday, Parker.
Yeah, happy birthday,
He's probably
Parker.
watching.
Yeah, for sure. He and who do we also say watches as well? The coach.
Oh,
Oh, that was me and Sonny. That's right. Brad Underwood. He watches. Yeah, he watches Sonny's Locked On Illini show.
yeah, he
'Cause
definitely does.
we told him to do something, and then he did it the next day, and we were like, voila, there we go.
There it is.
We'll tell Brad Underwood what to do. Okay, so Ohio State, EA here says I can't figure out Ohio State.
Nobody
They beat they can beat and lose to anybody. I mean, I kind of said it at the beginning of the season, and I feel like I've been spot on from the jump. Ohio State, if they are hitting threes, they can beat anybody, i.e. Kentucky, i.e. Purdue, right? Like they can beat anybody if they're hitting threes. If they're not hitting threes like they were tonight, what they shoot from three tonight? 4 for 21. You can also lose to
Is that
anybody.
bad?
Yeah, real bad. You can also lose to anybody. I mean, you go down the stat column here, Kent, and it's like everything was awful. The only thing that Ohio State did better than Northwestern tonight was they had a higher 3-point percentage than Northwestern. They were 4 for 21, and Northwestern was 2 for 14. But turns out Northwestern did everything else 10 times better.
Gross, by the way. I didn't realize it was that bad from both
Yeah.
teams.
Well, I mean, when you don't have a down low presence, right? You got Austin Parks and Ivan Nagovin out there being your post players, like because Sean Stewart is just running into Matthew Nicholson. Like there was an early point in that game where Sean Stewart is trying to like guard Matthew Nicholson 5 feet at past the 3-point arc. It's like why are you guarding him out there? And he just runs into him, and it's like, oh, that's Sean Stewart's second foul. He has to leave the game, and it's like, dude. So
He doesn't want to get trade up, dude. He doesn't want him to hit a 3 on him from out there. Come
I
on,
guess
man.
so. Yeah, I guess so.
I wonder how many times Matthew Nicholson shot a 3 this year. Because he does shoot them every once in a while.
I mean, yeah.
If only there was
I don't
somebody
have
keeping track of those stats.
Oh, I have CB analytics up. I can look it up and see.
Game
that.
log.
Yeah.
This is what people want to see. They want to see us go through Matthew Nicholson's game log right now.
Yep.
That's what they want.
Yep.
Give the people what they want.
Else. He has shot
None.
None?
I could have swore I saw him shoot a couple this year.
Fantastic analysis by you.
Okay, that's on me. Hand up. Bad Northwestern fan right here.
That's okay. We don't need to spend 5 minutes talking about Matthew Nicholson shooting threes. Um, but yeah, so like for Ohio State, basically at this point, with your what Ohio State was holding on to more than anything else were their numbers, their net rating, their KenPom, stuff like that. They've been top 30 all year, despite encountering a bunch of losses. I don't see how they stay top 30 after losing by 21 at home to Northwestern. Like I don't see how that happens because they do take margin of victory, margin of loss into account. And so if that's going to happen, Ohio State has to probably win out to make the NCAA tournament from here. This was a must-win game. This is a game you should have won, and this was a must-win game. And unfortunately for Ohio State, they came out completely flat, looked overwhelmed the entire game, and everything you heard post-game was like, give credit to Northwestern. That's a good team. And it's like, no, they're not. Like, sorry, I'm not trying to be that guy, but like Northwestern's not been a good team this year. They didn't score a single field goal in the final 4 minutes of the game. Like Illinois didn't score a single field goal for the last 8.5 minutes of the game, and everybody crucified Brad Underwood. Northwestern doesn't score a field goal in the last 4 minutes of the game, and they win by 20. Like that's not good. Anyway,
it was one of those games though, and this is why I think all of us love college athletics. Is that when you're just purely watching the game and you're not digging into the stats and you're not like who's good, who's bad. Northwestern wanted this game way more than Ohio State did, right?
Oh yeah.
You could see that was like jumping off the screen. So like just from a strictly like casual, I guess, standpoint, just watching this game as a outsider, you're like, that team looks like they are desperate. Like they're going to die if they don't win this game. And the other team looks like they could care less if they win or lose. Like they're trying, they're playing basketball still, but it was just one of those games for me. It was like they came in with something to prove and they proved it tonight. So that just happens sometimes. And it just notches another one on the belt of the I can't remember who just said it, but cannot figure this Ohio State team out because they can play with anyone and they can obviously, like we found out tonight, can lose to anybody. So crazy.
Do you think that Ohio State had two players out tonight. One of them was a walk-on. The other one was their backup center and Aaron Bradshaw. And they also had an assistant coach out tonight because they were all sick. Do you think it was possibly the team was just all sick? Like they asked Jake Dealer about it and he basically brushed it off and he was like, if you step on the court, you should play with intensity. It doesn't matter if you're sick or not. If you're good enough to play, you should play hard. So that kind of made it sound like to me there might have been some guys who were sick. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, based on what I just said, now that you're telling me that, I can see that being a scenario because it did look like a bunch of guys that were, like I just said, that, oh man, we're just not really trying as hard as we could be trying right now. So maybe they were sick. Maybe that's what it was. Everyone just had a little bit of something going through the team. I don't know. But like I said, all the credit to Northwestern tonight, though, because they looked like they had to win this game, and they really did. If they want to go to Indianapolis, they had to have – it almost feels like every game here at the end of the season, and they were able to get it done. So credit to them.
Yeah.
A lot of sickness this year, though, man. Is COVID back? What's going on?
I don't know. That's what somebody said in one of the articles that I was reading about all the sickness. They were like, this could be a COVID variant or whatever. And I was like, I mean, it could, but, I feel like somebody would say something about it by now if it was. But I don't know. I mean, Illinois is going through the same thing. Brad Underwood talked about it. Like they skipped the handshake line.
So dumb, by the way. I don't care what anybody says. The dumbest thing I have ever seen in my life, by the way. I have to talk about this for 30 seconds. Play basketball against each other, swap and sweat for 40 minutes, running up and down, breathing on each other, talking right in each other's faces, and then the game's over and let's not shake hands. That'll keep us all safe from the sickness. What a stupid thing. I've never seen something stupider in my life.
I understood it for like the coaches because like, the assistant coaches, you don't want them all like getting it possibly and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, which Sonny said that maybe he wasn't contagious, but when Tomislav Ivisic was sick and he was still sitting on the bench, it was like, why is he on the bench then? Like, get him out of there.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to get everybody else sick. But yeah, it seemed silly to me, but I don't know. Who knows? Maybe Brad after the game was like, wow, our guys really do stink. We don't want to do this to another team. Like,
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I understand the sentiment, but it was the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Kat says almost everybody at my work got the flu. So yeah, I mean, people at my work have gotten it a bunch too. I can't deny it. So, what about people at your work? You and the dogs?
The dogs are good.
Yes.
Nobody's sick.
Okay.
Nobody's
Good.
sick.
Is dog flu? I think dogs can't get the flu, right?
I don't think. I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't
Dogs
think
are like
either.
invincible.
Yeah.
They can eat anything. They can. They never get sick. They're always ready to go. Like I could go get my dog off the couch right now. He'd be ready to rock. Like, let's go, dude. We're going somewhere. Never
Um,
tired. Sorry, go ahead.
I was,
We'll do a
I
dog
was gonna end the
podcast next
conversation.
week.
I was gonna end the conversation. Final four games for Ohio State. How many of these do they win? At UCLA, at USC, Nebraska, at Indiana.
I don't care what teams you listed. I would have said 2 out of 4. Just because of the way the season's gone for them. It could be anybody that you just said. I would have been like, they'll win half of them. Just like they in my mind, that's just what they do. They just like split. Doesn't really matter who they're playing. They might play great. If it's a good team, then they might win. They might do what they did tonight, play bad against a bad team and lose. So they'll win 2.
Ken Palm is predicting they will go 3-1 to end the season. But Ken Palm also predicted they would beat Michigan, and that was a bad prediction. So.
Yeah, did they predict? I assume Ken Palm thought they were going to win tonight as well.
I did not look that up beforehand, but I would say that is a safe guess. Yeah.
I think that's a really safe guess. I'm going to say it's a really safe guess, especially because the spread was so high. But anyways.
Yeah. Philip's right. Illinois did have that player in the second half who couldn't play because he couldn't stop. Was it Trey White? I think it was Trey White.
I can't remember now.
I can't remember who it was, but yeah, they did have a player who was so sick he couldn't stop puking. Which that's just like that sucks, man. You try to go out there the entire first half and play Jake Davis. Okay, like man, that would suck.
That would suck. I've puked during a basketball
that.
game before. It was not
Yeah,
fun.
but like I did that out of like exhaustion. I didn't do that because like my throat was killing me. Like,
oh, I did it because I was sick and I wasn't supposed. I didn't go to school that
okay.
day, and then I played in the game and puked.
Wow, bad boy.
Yeah,
Real rebel.
call me a Vicic. I was just in there still. Didn't care. Got to get my minutes, dude. Can't lose my minutes.
Can't lose your minutes. All right, let's talk about Michigan State tomorrow. So huge game. Michigan State, 2 teams atop the Big Ten standings right now. Michigan State's coming off a big win over Purdue. Michigan beat Purdue earlier this year as well. They also got blown out by Purdue, but they came back and they beat them at home by a couple points. And Purdue's on a 3-game skid right now. We can talk about that later if we want. But this game it's to tie the Big Ten. If Michigan State wins, they tie with Michigan for the Big Ten, right?
They will be tied in the win. No, it'll be like 1 game difference because I think
Michigan State would be 13-3 and Michigan would be 12-3. So Michigan State would actually be ahead in.
Yeah, because then they would be 12-4 if Michigan State wins.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
12-3.
Oh yeah, because they've only lost 2. That's right. Okay, yeah.
If Michigan wins, Michigan State will be 12-4. So they'll be 2 games behind if Michigan State loses. If they'll be a half game up if they beat Michigan in this one. So I mean, how do you think this one's gonna play? Excuse me. How do you think this one's going to play out, Kent? Like, I mean, Michigan State has a number of bigs they like to roll out there, but I don't think any of them are really athletic enough to challenge Danny Wolf. Maybe Carson Cooper. He could hang with them on the perimeter. I mean, he's not the worst perimeter defender in the world. Danny Wolf is pretty quick though, so I feel like he could get by him, especially if you put Vlad and him in the pick and pop or the pick and roll situation. I mean, Trey Donaldson's been pretty good lately as well. He's going to give fits to the Michigan backcourt. Jeremy Fears Jr. apparently can't play against the zone. So, does Michigan go to the zone here? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, as you're talking through that, I was trying to find, what the best way that Michigan State could win this game. And I don't know why I was looking at it from that aspect, but because they have the 2 7-footers, I think that's where you have to start. And I think I would put Cooper on Golden, right? Like that would be the biggest. Like that's where I would start and then build around that.
Zapala starts, so you probably put Zapala on him, and then you probably switch to Cooper
on
and then Kohler on Wolf.
Okay,
right?
I guess so. That would be bad. I feel like Wolf would.
Yeah, but who else?
Him on the perimeter. Yeah.
I don't know who else you put on them though.
I don't know. That's what I was trying to think through their lineup, like who I would put out there on him, because if they have one of those guys on him, he's definitely going to stay out towards the 3-point line, I feel like. But in any scenario, it doesn't really matter to me, because I think that if there's any team that I trust to make some defensive adjustments and give teams fits, it's going to be Tom Izzo, because he can always get his guys to do something defensively that the other team hasn't seen. And I think that's what we're going to see tomorrow night. They're going to either like double Golden, or they're going to, switch everything and just let little guys guard out on the perimeter. I don't know what they're going to do, but I trust him to have some sort of plan against this Michigan attack. As far as, I'm not going to make a prediction, by the way, because I've been wrong on every prediction I've made on this show. But what I do think is going to happen is I think that maybe Wolf and Golden get theirs, and I think that the guards will struggle from Michigan, and that's where Michigan State can keep up with them throughout the game. And if they can shoot the ball decent from three, which they haven't shown that they can most of the year, then I think that Michigan State can go in and pull out the upset in that way. That's what my plan would be. I'd just be like, let these bigs get what they're going to get. We'll do our best on them one-on-one, but let's take away everything from Trey Donaldson. Let's not let anybody else on the outside score at all. And we'll just see what we can do on our own end offensively, and just let them go do what they're going to do down low and try to keep up.
I almost wonder if maybe you put Cohen Carr on Danny Wolf, and then the athleticism of Cohen Carr on offense is able to balance that out enough, because I don't think Danny Wolf can keep up with Cohen Carr on defense, especially with how much he works off the ball. So if you do that, you might have a chance there. But then, like you said, switching and stuff like that might help as well. But I mean, at the same time, Michigan's just going to go to his zone, right? Like Dusty May is not stupid. Dusty May saw what Mike Woodson did, and he was like, okay, Mike, if this worked for you, this can work for me, right?
Well, he did it against Ohio State. We talked about this. He did it for like 9 minutes straight against Ohio State, and they couldn't score.
Right.
So he knows it can work.
But I also
wouldn't run in his zone tomorrow night.
Well, yeah, I don't think he's going to do it all game like Woodson did, though. Like, no. I think he's probably going to be one of those guys that, like, goes into the zone off the timeout, but then immediately switches to man, the possession after, because Tom Izzo has different lineups for the zone versus the man. And so if he can go to zone and get Tom Izzo in one of his, zone lineups and then go back to man right away, that could work out. But
I think he'll do the same thing he did, like, out of a timeout, he'll do that, but then he'll be like, we're staying in it until they score.
Yeah, well,
that's kind of what he did against, Ohio State on Sunday. Like, they stayed in it for a while, and Ohio State couldn't find a shot. And then as soon as they scored, they went back to man-to-man.
Yeah,
so I feel like that was the game plan in that game. So maybe he'll do that again. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Jace Richardson has to have a good game in order for Michigan State to win, in my mind. Like, 3-point shooting, needs to shoot a high percentage, needs to get to the line. His free throw attempt rate is pretty good. It's not anything like spectacular, but it's pretty good, and he's shooting the free throw at a pretty good rate as well. What's his free throw percentage? I just saw it earlier. His shooting, he's shooting nearly 90% from free throw, so 87.9 right now. So, like, he's gonna have to be aggressive. He's gonna have to get to the hole. He's gonna have to get Vlad or Danny or somebody to foul him and get in some foul trouble. When you saw Ohio State, that was one of the only reasons they started having success against Michigan in the first half, was because Danny Wolf got on the bench and they were able to attack the paint more, because Vlad just couldn't keep up with the ball movement down there. And Michigan State does excel with the ball movement. So if you can get Danny Wolf out of the game and leave Vlad on an island down there trying to protect the paint all by himself, you can score.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just really excited about this game. That sounds like I'm taking like 15 steps back, getting out of the analytics of it and everything. But a game this late in the season with first place on the line, very exciting, very exciting. And the cool part about it is they play twice still, so there's a chance that this isn't even the biggest game of the year for them or for the conference, because they could meet. Like, what do they play in, like 2 more weeks or something like that? And it could be the same scenario where they're both like basically tied, and whoever wins it is really going to have a stranglehold on the conference, because there'll only be one more game after that. So very fun, man. This is the type of games that you look forward to, where it's later, like, earlier on in the season when it was two teams, like when Penn State and Purdue played, by the way, like way back then, like two teams, they're like, oh man, they're fighting for first place right now. And it's like, okay, now we're in late February. It actually could be, for the conference championship on the line tomorrow night. It's really exciting. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's March in a week and a half. It's
Crazy.
It's March. So Ryan's here and he's talking about Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin is in this conversation too, because if Michigan State wins, you have Michigan sitting at 12-3, Michigan State sitting at 13-3, and then you have Wisconsin sitting at 11-4. Like they would need some help.
With the easiest schedule, by the way, coming down the stretch. The easiest Wisconsin, one by far.
Yeah, if they take care of business and they win their games at the end like they're supposed to, if you're a Wisconsin fan, you are praying that Michigan State and Michigan split these two games they have coming up to end the season. And then you're just praying that Michigan falters another time. Because if that happens, you're in a situation where Wisconsin is tied the conference record with Michigan and Michigan State as well. So that's all you need. If you're Wisconsin, you are praying that Michigan and Michigan State split, Michigan loses one more time to somebody, and then there you go. You've won a share of the Big Ten title this year. I don't know who would get the first seed or second seed. I don't know the tiebreaker in that situation. Is it overall? Is that the tiebreaker?
As far as the seeding goes, I have no idea. I think it's head-to-head first against like whoever you're tied with.
Oh, okay.
So it would go like head-to-head. So if you're tied with Michigan, then Michigan would be number one over Wisconsin. And then they would have to do a different tiebreaker if it's Michigan State as well. But I love Wisconsin. I'm so glad Ryan's here right now. We talked about this like 2 weeks ago or a week ago, whatever it was. They were under the radar and they're not anymore. Like everybody's locked in on them. I said if they won against Purdue and Illinois, everybody would be talking about them. And I did not anticipate them winning both of those games. I really didn't. I'll be honest. But after watching them play those two games, it's hard to sit here right now in this, like, whatever it is, February 20th, right now, even though we're talking about Michigan and Michigan State playing for the conference tomorrow night, it's really hard for me not to say that Wisconsin's the best team. I think that they might be. I really do, man. I mean, they're so tough right now.
Yeah, offensively, they are 100%. They have to have enough defense on top of the offense to make that happen. So Wisconsin actually has 5 games left. I was mistaken. I thought they only had 4 games left. They have 5 games left. Ken Pom has them winning all of them except for Michigan State. They have them losing by 1 point to Michigan State. So actually, in theory, if you are Wisconsin, Michigan and Michigan State split it. You go undefeated the final 5 games of the season for you, and then Michigan loses one more to somebody else, you're at least guaranteed. You would knock Michigan State out. You wouldn't even have a tiebreaker with them because you'd beat them if you go undefeated. And then you're guaranteed at least a tie with Michigan.
With Michigan, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at their schedule right now. Their last 5 games are brutal. I just noticed this. Michigan State tomorrow night at Nebraska. Rutgers is probably the only one I would say is a guaranteed win, but then they have Illinois and Maryland at home, and then back at Michigan State is actually the last game. I thought they had one more game after that, but tough to go Illinois, Maryland, Michigan State to finish the year. Ugh.
Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely not going to – I don't think they're going to finish undefeated. Or, like, I know they're not undefeated, but I don't think they're going to win the rest of their games is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, they got 6 games left. Yeah, I mean, the nice thing there is you only have 2 away games. One's against Michigan State, who you're going to play. So if you win this one, you feel better about it. And then the other one is at Nebraska, which Nebraska obviously very good at home. But they also just got blown out by Penn State. So that's a team that Michigan should be able to beat. But, I mean, these games don't give them very much rest, though. Like, if I'm a Michigan fan, that's the number one thing I'm concerned with here is just how little of rest. Like, they play literally every 3 days. 21st, 24th, 27th, 2nd, 5th, and they have 4 days to the 9th. You're playing. I don't want to hear
any complaining from them though, because we had a couple snow days down here in Tennessee, and my daughter and both my daughters and my sons, their tournament got pushed back. And if they win their first game, they have to go the next day and play. And I didn't hear them complaining at all. Like, they're ready for that action. So 3 days rest is like a lot. Like, they would be shocked by that.
Well, I want to make it clear. They're not complaining. I'm complaining for them. I'm not like you, Kent, where I am such a big piece of the fan base that I
Yeah,
actually speak for them. That's you with Northwestern.
true,
Yeah.
true. Yeah,
You
but if
declared
they
that
are,
when you
if you
started
see
making
any
Chris
complaints,
Collins videos.
yeah. If you see any Michigan people complaining about the amount of rest that they're getting, please DM it to me though, so that I can explain to them that my kids are going off 1 day rest,
Just
and I'm
clip
sure that
this.
they'll change their minds.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's no way they couldn't. Yeah, so Big Ten race here at the end. It's shaping up to be really crazy. Your next team after that is Maryland. They sit at 11-5 right now. I mean, there's a possibility. Excuse me, Purdue sitting at 11-5 too. Like, there's a possibility if things really go haywire for Michigan, Michigan State, and Wisconsin that they could get a share of the title there. But then you're also looking at those teams need to win all of their games as well. But yeah, so it's gonna be a really interesting end of the
All
season.
right, make one prediction. Let's make one prediction here as we finish up the show. Who is winning the conference? And you can name more than one team if you want to.
I think Michigan will at least get a share. They're just set up too well to not. And then Wisconsin. I'll say Wisconsin gets at least a share. Michigan and Wisconsin get a share.
I have got to agree with you. Have we ever done that? Have we ever agreed on anything?
The death penalty thing.
That's true. Yeah, that one. That was a good one.
Yeah, we did both agree on that. Basketball wise, not much else. No.
Two tonight, man. Look at us go. We're vibing.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. So that's gonna do it for this episode. So I'm actually gonna be back tomorrow night. So listen, I'll just say it. Sleepers right now is not on YouTube, and so I'm trying to build this basketball channel up. It's not like hardly grown at all this year for whatever reason. So I'm hoping that right now all the Big Ten basketball fans who were wanting to watch Sleepers and they're looking for Big Ten basketball content. Not that I'm trying to steal their viewers, but if they're looking, maybe they stumble onto this one and they're like, oh, hey, these guys, are pretty good too. Maybe, death penalty and stuff like that they like to talk about. Maybe we like them too. So we're going to go live tomorrow night. I have Shaps from, why can't why am I blanking on their podcast? It's the Pirate Illini podcast. Why am I blanking on it right now?
The Pirate Illini one?
It's like a pirate theme of
He's
Illinois.
not coming on now because you forgot the name of it.
I know. The Java Man.
I couldn't think of it either, but I literally, every time you say Shaps, I think of that logo. That logo is awesome.
Yeah, they do. And I love that they stick with the theme so much. They do a great job. The Java Man, he's going to be on with me tomorrow night. We'll recap the game. Then we'll talk about Illinois Duke, that whole situation. We'll probably talk about other games on Saturday as well. And then the Saturday slate, I'm going to have Burke on with me right after the Illinois Duke game. We'll recap that one. We'll talk about the game Sunday. And then if people keep watching, I'll try to keep coming on after games. So if you guys watch, I'll keep doing it. If you don't watch, bye. So, Kent, you have anything you want to say before we get out of here?
No, I mean, yes. I don't know why I always say no every time you ask me that. And sometimes I do have things to say. We're going to be on Locked. I think both of us are going to be on Locked On Illini tomorrow, right? Are you coming on with me?
Sunday night. Or was it tomorrow?
I thought we were going on tomorrow to do the Brad Underwood thing.
Oh, maybe it's tomorrow. I don't know. Whenever he wants me on. He just
tomorrow afternoon. I think we're going to be on. So check out a Locked On Illini the next couple of days too. I'll be on that, and then I'm just doing Twitter stuff still, and then we'll be back Monday. We only got like a couple more power rankings episodes to go before the season's over. So
that's true. That's true. Chris, we apologize. We did not prepare our conspiracy theories tonight.
No, he said consistency.
Oh, we want consistency. Brain was stuck on the conspiracy theories plan that we had from Monday. So sorry. We want consistency, man. Okay. All right. You heard it here first. Consistency. All right. We will do our
Monday,
very best.
Wednesday, Friday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's what they want. Every day.
I can tell you, I have never seen a YouTube channel more consistent than Sleepers. So if that's what people want, that's what they get. They get consistency from Sleepers.
You think that's the key, huh?
That's what Chris says is.
Yeah, because those guys do suck. No, I'm just kidding. I like you guys. Just kidding, Greg. Just kidding, Carter. I actually do.
They are consistent, man. They they churn out like 20 videos a day. I don't know how they do it. I mean, they do have other people that help them too. This is like literally just me and you and other people sometimes. But
Hey, free sleepers, by the way. Let's get that going.
yeah, for real. Like that sucks to get a YouTube strike like that. Like that would absolutely suck. I feel really bad. So we're actually doing our best to keep all of you Big Ten basketball fans still on YouTube for when they come back. That's what we're doing.
For sure. Sorry, my wife was texting me.
It's okay. All right. All right, everybody. We appreciate it. Chris, we will do our best to be consistent for you. Everybody else, we will see you tomorrow night. Well, I'll see you tomorrow night. If Kent's in the chat, he'll see you tomorrow night. And have a good one. See you next time.